ask you this: do you think that I know it's maybe far fetched, but do you think this is a hate crime just because of the systemic mindset of the police officers and the non-caring and the no, you just think it's just
wanton murder.
You want murder.
Wanton. So reckless. Their behavior was wanton, reckless murder.
Oh. Can you add to that, Cheryl? Cheryl, can you hear me? Or is she frozen?
I think she's frozen.
Yeah, she's frozen. She'll let me beam her out and beam her back in. Oh, she's kind of beamed out. So
there we go.
You don't think 3 years is too long? I'm thinking we gotta wait 3 years.
Don't have to. She didn't say that. She just said he hasn't done anything yet that would put him basically on the chopping block.
Yeah.
So and he's buying time by saying, "Oh, we're investigating. Oh, we're analyzing the investigation. Oh, all of that is suitable. We just know it's some BS." So it's not to say that he gonna make it all 3 years, but there's just nothing to say now. Yeah. And I think a lot of times we get in front of what we can do and we miss the beat. Like with regard to the question about this being a hate crime, like there are crimes that are clearly hate crimes. Like don't take away from those instances by trying to make everything that's racial a hate crime.
Sure. I know you saw the picture, or should I ask, have you seen the picture of him at a beach? Say it again, please.
I said on vacation.
On vacation. That shit threw me in a man. I don't know how many times I wanted to break my phone. I wish I could just bend it sometimes. You know what I mean?
And let's not forget, this is the officer that was terminated. It's the one who was on vacation.
Yeah.
Who also was in charge of assigning all the off-duty police work and was also picking up drunk females leaving the bar that he was working at, saying, "I give you a ride home," and sexually assaulting these females. So and I tell people this. So I'm going to take off my. Can I take off my hat for the Breonna Taylor family?
Yes,
I'm
please.
taking that hat off. When I was a prosecutor, this same and that's one thing that prosecutors really have to start doing.
Mm-hmm.
I knew he was bad police. I didn't prosecute his cases if I had them. When we know that there's bad officers out there as prosecutors, you can't just prosecute their case because they bring you a case. Like if you know that there's evidence of police misconduct in that file, you have a duty as a prosecutor to get rid of that case. And that's what prosecutors need to start doing. That's why we need to hold the elected prosecutors accountable for the people that they hire, for the people who are prosecuting. Like, we just have to hold the whole system accountable. It's everybody. Sorry. Now I can put my other hat back on.
What was in his jacket?
Leave my hat off.
Leave it off.
What was in his jacket or any of the police officers of note?
It's a lot. Like, it's a lot. Like, it's a lot. Like, one of the other officers, Mattingly, had been involved in a I'm getting, because it's late. Y'all know it's almost 2:00 here, so I'll start mixing people's files up.
We're gonna let you go in a second.
I just say one had been involved.
BB, come on and call in.
Involved shooting.
Let me ask you this real quick: if you know that that's the case, is there anything that you can do to then alert the police department and put the onus on them to deal with that?
Yeah.
What can you do? What have you done? I mean, if you know that there's someone who's bringing you cases that are BS, and you know that the officer is, how do you circumvent that? How do you get the attention on that officer so that he's not able to bring you more cases that are not good?
At my office, we had a list, Brady list, because Brady. Yeah. So we had a Brady list of officers. So one, you already knew, like, okay, you gotta. If they're on this case, you got to disclose that either they done lied in court before, or they've had this or this in their file. So, we have that. We had that list as prosecutors. There are here recently it showed where with domestic violence cases, someone not investigating, the 2 officers not investigating thoroughly and not writing out the citation. They had a history of doing that. And I had been gone from the prosecutor's office at that point. But once prosecutors started talking and combining their different individual cases together, like started comparing them, they realized a pattern. They went to the commanding officers. Those officers were eventually terminated. So it's that's what prosecutors have to start doing. You know what I mean? So,
which speaks to the fact that I always say is that police chiefs know who the bad apples are.
Yep.
And they allow them to live to offend again.
Yep.
And so this whole thing about police reform and creating a national database and a list, you know, I say all the time that there's already a list. There's a list somewhere. Every police department already knows who the jackasses are. They're on a list. Chauvin had 18 personnel complaints. Trust me, he was on a list.
And Hankinson, the one who was on vacation and also assaulting women and, you know, firing recklessly, and the one that's been terminated, he worked for Lexington, right up the road police department. And when he left there, the supervisor, like his commanding officer, had put like, don't ever hire him again. He was horrible. That's an abbreviation of it. But yeah, a year later, Louisville hires him.
Oh my! Is that considered negligence?
Yeah, I mean, it could be if Louisville knew about
Point I made, and punitive damages. If you let me get a hold of that civil lawsuit,
I get ahead
that's
Okay.
but
She's right.
the problem is that there's caps and so much like immunity on this stuff that there's so many limitations that protects them. And I'm like, why y'all want to protect? But whatever, that's a whole nother story.
Immunity is a big issue. We got to get rid of immunity. So, like, cities got to be held liable for not doing what they need to do. Yeah.
And that's why there's more people involved in this.
The whole system,
yeah.
like when they say like that chant that says if we don't get it, shut it down, burn it down, however you want to say, the system needs to get shut all the way down and rebuilt from scratch with people who have worked in it, been in it. Sergeant Dorsey, look, and you need all of those people at the table. Like, it needs to be fixed. And well, there's no fixing it. It needs to be rebuilt completely.
That's what funding the police. That's the whole principle.
But you need money to rebuild it.
Yeah.
So what? I don't think we should rebuild it. I think it should be something totally different. I think the entire system, just like you said, rebuild a house. That's the prime example that I give, is that you can't always remodel an old house. Sometimes you like that corner lot, it's in a great neighborhood, but you can't
take it down and start over.
And most importantly, you got to be open to new advancements that are in place with regard to the architecture, solar panels, whatever. You got to listen to people that know what they're talking about. And you can't take the same blueprint and build the same old house. It need to be a whole different structure.
I agree with that.
You know, my final question, and first